Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, a condo HOA tries to extort a bunch of condo owners and demands they pay over $32 million in repairs. They have been stealing and embezzling funds all along. Here is what happened to this HOA. The first one starts like this. So I live in a massive condo building that houses about 160 people, which means a lot of families. The one thing I hate is that the condos are not cheap and we spend a lot of money trying to live in a good area and in a decent city. On top of that, these two buildings and a few others are all controlled by an HOA that collects fees every month. I don't want to, but it was part of the contract and I wanted to live here. Also, it's fairly standard here, and finding a place without an HOA means going far away. These details all might seem oddly specific, but bear with me, because they will come together. Every certain number of years, the buildings get an inspection to make sure they are livable. They also give the HOA a list of things that are technically fine, but need repairs for the next time they come and visit. We as the owners never get to see or hear about this information. We just pay the HOA and they are meant to take care of the buildings. Well, it turned out that the HOA group was taking our money, but not actually using it to make sure the buildings stayed secure. My guess was they got away with it for so long because the inspections were pretty famously lax around here until a building went down and then we got a new mayor the year after. Anyway, it turned out that during an inspection problems were found and the HOA now wanted us as the owners to pay for it. They had a meeting and of course letters were sent out to anybody that missed it. I was one that just got the letter and had to be filled in later with more details from my neighbors. They wanted each of us to pay almost $200,000, claiming they needed $32 million in order to get the buildings up to code and pass inspection. I thought it was some kind of joke. But no, they really did expect us all to be able to cover up that kind of money. It's a nice area, but the people here have money, but not to that degree. There was so much chaos from this that they had to hold a second meeting just to explain things and try to answer questions. They did not get to explain much, but there sure were a ton of questions they had problems answering. Man number one, we pay every month and that's meant to go to repairs. What happened to that money? HOA, this is an emergency situation and your normal monthly fees just cannot cover it. Man number one, you either have been using the money for maintenance and there shouldn't be any issues, or you have been hoarding it and it should be there. A chorus of people agreed with him, and the HOA had no logical answer to this aside from saying the same crap that sounded rehearsed. Man number two, you say that it will cost $32 million. I wanna know if I'm paying a ton of money to keep my home, what exactly that money is going towards. HOA, the inspectors have given us a list and we estimated the cost based on that. Again, not telling us anything on the list or how they came to this conclusion. The meeting basically ended with the HOA saying this. HOA, listen, without the repairs the building is not gonna be safe and then shut down. Either we all need to get on board and do this or nobody's gonna have a place to live. This did not do anything to calm people down or give them more answers. I will say that nobody wanted to pay money and a bunch of owners were having our own meetings without the HOA. Meetings that involved lawyers and trying to find out how much the HOA had been screwing us over for years. Nobody liked the idea of needing to move out, and if they asked for maybe $1,000 per person, we would have done it. The money just was not there and we needed to know if we had to leave. We as a group decided to sue the HOA for misusing our money and digging into what happened to it, as well as suing them for neglecting the building which they were responsible for. The court was a total crap show for them, and going into detail might make this story go on forever, so I need to give some highlights of what happened and answers we got. The first thing was what happened to all the money we'd been giving them for years. After looking into things, they spent next to nothing on upkeep and instead had been taking the money for themselves. This is otherwise known as embezzlement, a criminal offense. The second was finding out about our building being a hazard and in danger of being shut down. While it was true that we needed things fixed, it was not as bad as the HOA told us. The building was not in danger of collapsing and it would not cost $32 million to fix it. Not cheap either, but basically what he was asking from each person. Extortion, another crime. The last big one was the fact that they neglected to care for the building, which was on their side of a legally binding contract. We were entitled to all of the money we gave them other the years since it wasn't being used in the way it was agreed upon. For that, they got a charge of criminal negligence and another that I cannot remember the name of. Something about fraud with the contracts. That's 3 pretty major crimes they were being found guilty of. Not to mention all the smaller ones that counted for each condo unit. They were going to prison for a very long time and when they got out would have no money left. Their bank accounts and assets were seized in order to give us back the money and pay for the building repairs. We all agreed to take less in order for the work to get done and keep our homes. Still, it was a pretty fat check anyway that we got. The HOA was gone pretty much and we didn't stop fighting until it was agreed a new one would not be allowed. Instead of paying HOA fees, we agreed to a maintenance fee that we would all pay and a building manager instead of an HOA. We were lucky that we didn't all end up losing our homes or even getting into some big accident from a damaged building. I still worry sometimes about the new strategy failing as well, but I try to push it to the back of my mind. Whenever I see workers in the building, it makes me think that my money is going where it is meant to, and that nobody will try to extort me for more. I think everybody else is a little nervous too, but as long as we keep our eyes open, things can stay calm. And as for the HOA members in prison, I hope they rot and I never need to lay my eyes on those dirtbags again. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. It was a beautiful Sunday and the perfect time to meet some people outside. So I took Jack, my guide dog, to get ready. I had to do some shopping, so we went to the mall. I had not left the house in a while, so I was excited. We walked around for 15 minutes until we got there. Jack knew the mall perfectly already, so we entered in a second. "Lovely dog, what's his name?" asked the new mall guard. I'm sure he was new because every other guard already knew Jack. "His name is Jack," I answered. "He is my guide dog and he's the sweetest," I replied. "Do you need any help, ma'am?" he asked politely. "No, thank you. We only came to this mall because it was the most friendly with handicapped people and I already knew everyone around." We went to my favorite store and I started doing my shopping quietly. I felt Jack was a bit agitated, sniffing around me continuously, almost aggressively. I heard someone talking very loudly behind me, telling someone else in the store things about me. "See that one? The one with the dog?" "Yes," replied the other woman without any interest. "She is pretending to be blind." "I am 100% sure I saw these kinds of things on television," said that woman. "They are tricking people. She is tricking us." "I don't know what to say honestly. I don't think it is our business," replied the other woman. "She's not even talking to us," she added. "I will prove it to you." When I heard those words, I knew I had to be ready. Soon I heard her steps coming towards me. She stopped and then I felt someone touching my shoulder. I turned around and asked, "Yes?" A sweet flowery perfume filled my nostrils. That was what Jack was sniffing. He became even more agitated, running and circling my leg. "Lady, can you take your dog out?" "It's annoying me and I'm allergic," said the woman. "Look at him, he's aggressive." "I'm sorry, but it's a guide dog," I retorted. "I am blind, so I need him with me." She laughed and took a few steps towards me, and she came with her hand close to my face, almost touching it. She tried holding her breath, but I could still hear her breath. "I can feel your hand. I don't need my eyes for that," I said. "Please step back," I said. "You just proved to me that you are lying," she said. "How could you feel my hand?" "It is impossible." She laughed and took a few steps back, shouting after that other woman. "I have the proof that she's not blind." The other woman did not respond, so Karen waited a few seconds and came back to me. "Yes, you are lying." "Why would I lie? So you can come here with your dog. You just want to make people like me suffer." "You want people to pity you. I'm not stupid. I've seen these things on TV." "Well, first of all, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Secondly, my dog seems to dislike your perfume. That's why he's agitated. So I could also ask you to leave," I said. She started screaming and repeating the word "liar." I turned around and continued my shopping. I could still hear her talking behind me, trying to convince other people in the store that I am the bad person. After a few more minutes, I can hear that she is fighting with an employee. "She is not blind. I am sure of it. Plus, I'm allergic to dogs," she screamed. I can hear the steps of people coming towards me, so I'm getting ready for another fight. "I'm sorry, ma'am." "This lady said that you are faking blindness. I'm sure that's not right, but she insisted I come here and talk to you," said the employee. "I have the documents that prove that I am blind in my bag. The stick and my guide dog are the things that I have as proof," I said. "Take off your glasses." "Why do you need to wear sunglasses if you are blind?" asked the woman. "Wow, Karen, you are doing it," I said, laughing. "Doing what? You're being the most stupid person I've ever met." When she heard those words, she came closer and pushed me. After she pushed me, she managed to grab my glasses, and that's the moment the employee intervened. The employee pushed Karen aside and grabbed my glasses from her hand, giving them back to me. "This is unacceptable," I said. "I'm so sorry." "I'm going to call for the manager and also the police," said the employee. When Karen heard that, she started running around the store, screaming that she did not do anything wrong. "It's all your fault. You could have just taken the dog out, just like I told you." "Now the police are coming," she screamed at me. The manager and the police came in the shortest time. Everyone said their side of the story, Karen's one being the only one where she was right. She was lying to the police, trying to make herself look good. As I was still talking to the police, Karen came and grabbed Jack's leash from my hand and started running. 2 policemen started running after her, and I just stood there stunned. Fortunately, she didn't have time to run really far, as Jack immediately bit her on the leg and directly ran back to me. "I'm suing you." "Your dog bit me," said Karen, showing me her right leg. I laughed as I heard what she said. I felt Jack circling my leg and sniffing me. I petted him and said, "He was protecting me." "Plus, you tried stealing him and you dragged him. What did you have in mind?" "He is a dog, not a baby. Mister, her dog bit me." "I am sure she shouldn't be allowed with a dog in the store," she started screaming at the policeman. "We saw that he bit you, but we also saw how you tried to steal him." "Maybe next time you won't steal other people's dogs," answered the policeman. "She can go anywhere with the dog," he added. The police also checked the store security cameras and saw everything. Karen was then taken to the police station and arrested. The manager gave me a $150 voucher to use in the store as an apology. And what can I say? I enjoyed spending all that money there. Since then, no one ever told me again that I am faking my blindness, but at least Karen gave me an interesting story. But don't give me a raise? Feel the consequences. Background: I work as a subcontractor for an actually licensed contractor for a realty company. Basically, the realty company buys houses and the contractor tells us to go to the new address, and my coworkers and I flip the house and get it ready to be rented out. When I first started the job, it was a difficult transition considering I was a plumber previously, but eventually I became a valuable asset to the contractor's company and thus the realty company as well. The contractor was infamous for being a bit of an ass when it came to actual business and money. He was constantly yelling and screaming at the plumber, the painters, etc. about prices and how it took them too long and he was not paying that much. Which I would understand if the yelling was actually warranted. When it became tax season, he gave everyone else a 1099 and then said he lost mine and got pissed off every time I asked about it. If someone knows what I can do about that, please let me know. This guy makes easily $2 million a year, so he says, so I don't really think $100 of the price matters that much. Not enough to get into a screaming match and ruin relationships with the other subcontractors. I've been working for him for about a year now at $16 per hour, not too bad for my area, but I make him a lot more a day than the $160 I make every 10-hour workday. One day I asked him for a raise, which he laughs and shuts me down immediately. After that I decide to work harder, get houses done faster and show him that I deserve a raise. A few months later, I decide to ask for a raise again, but not as directly. How could I be more useful to the company? I asked. So I can increase my productivity and both of us can make more money. He said, "Get a van and a trailer and then we can talk about more money." In his normal gruff tone that says, "Shut up and get back to work." After that day, I worked side jobs here and there. So I worked a lot later than I usually would and even all throughout the weekend, saving up as much money as possible. I sometimes would not eat some days just to save that little bit of money. He loved how much I was getting done, and I could practically see the dollar signs in his eyes when I told him all that I got done every day. Finally, the day came where I saved up just enough money to buy my dad's old Ford van. Then not long after, I bought a little piece of crap 5x10 trailer that I had to fix up. The following Monday, I pull up with the bright white gas guzzler and the fixed up trailer following behind. I walked up to him smiling ear to ear about my accomplishment, hoping he would be proud or at least happy about all that I have done. I tell him to look at my new toys, and all he says is, "Cool," and got in his truck and left. Okay, maybe he's just busy, I thought as I processed his extremely underwhelming response. At the end of the day, I finally have a moment with him to discuss my raise. So, I have the van and the trailer. I have saved up and done everything you said that I needed to do to make more money and be more of an asset to this company. He narrows his eyes at me and says, "What are you talking about? You said that if I got a van and a trailer that you would pay me more." I said confused. "I never said any of that. You have to actually work if you want anything else from me." I was devastated. I've been working my butt off while he sat on his ass and watched. I followed every instruction, completed in the very least 2 houses a week, which he makes about 5K per house or so he says, and he acts like I do nothing for the company. I swallowed my pride and let out a quick "yes sir" and left his office. I was finally tired of dealing with the contractor. Tired and defeated, I decided it was time to start looking for other jobs that actually had the possibility to move up. Then the company electrician gave me an idea. I am going to call him Adam for privacy reasons. Adam is a good guy all around. If you needed advice or just someone to talk to, he was always there for you. I told him about everything that has happened with the contractor and told him I was looking for other jobs. He simply says, "You're not supposed to be here and try to make it to the top. You are here to learn everything you can, and then one day you'll be the contractor." A better one than the contractor for sure. Why not look into getting your general contracting license? It's not hard, you just have to work for it. That's what I did to an extent. I worked for the contractor for years dealing with his BS, until one day I decided to get my electrician's license. Now he doesn't decide what I am paid, I do. That is, if he wants me to work for him, and if not, then I have other customers to make my living. I took his words to heart and came up with a plan. Revenge? I did some research on becoming a general contractor in my state. Requirements differ in other states. Basically, I would need books to learn the material, references, a bank reference to pass the test. The books were pretty expensive. With bills, taking care of my family and a monthly van payment, it seemed impossible for now. Until I found a group following in my area that needed a handyman to do a variety of things. Perfect, extra money. Soon, my name started blowing up in my small town. I did everything from repairing fences to installing toilets. I took everything I learned from plumbing and from working for the contractor and used it to build a reputation. References? Check. This is when I decided it was time to open my own business. Again, I did my research and learned all I had to do to open said business. I will spare you the details, but it was basically business license, how to get an LLC, liability insurance, think of a name not already taken, etc. It took a while, but I sent in all that I had and prayed to whatever God is there for me to be invited to take the test. I waited and waited until about 3 weeks, and finally I got a letter inviting me to the next test. It was a 3-hour drive, and on a Tuesday, great, another speed bump. Have to miss work and pay $300. The day of the test came and I panicked. It was open book, but I eventually ran out of time and did not get to finish. I was so disappointed in myself that I basically gave up. I just decided to keep working my job and a little side business. A week later, I was holding my son. He is a beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed reflection of myself. After I managed to get him to sleep, I stared at him and wondered if I would be able to give him a better life than I had. I remember growing up in crappy trailers, being hungry and made fun of at school because I wore clothes from Walmart. Not the best way to grow up, but I had a roof over my head. I always wanted video games that my friends had but never got it. I wanted to go to trampoline parks and water parks. I have only been once in my entire life, and that is about when my resolve renews itself within me. I had to do this not only for me, but for him. I saved up all over again and came up with the $300 and requested for a retake of the test. I took practice tests online, so I was ready. The day came and I barely managed to pass, but I still passed the test and received my license. Now time for the fun part. With all of the time passing, I became pretty close friends with the owner of the realty company. Going to barbecues, stopping to tell him some corny joke I saw on Facebook, he loved puns, and doing extra tasks not under the contractor. One day I came into his office and saw some invoices from the contractor on his desk. I just said, "Wow, that is how much you're paying him? Dude, he should at least take it a little bit easy on you, being that you have known each other for so long." He just nodded and said, "You think so?" And he just looked at the papers more. Since then, I would say little comments about how much the contractor was being paid and how many houses we could buy with that money. Just planting seeds in his mind that I slowly water until they turn into a beautiful garden of resentment. Finally, owner calls me and wants me to come to his house for a beer and to talk business. We have done this a few times before. It's usually about his wife or hit last time he played golf. I pull into his driveway and he told me to meet him out back. After the usual "how are yous," he tells me that him and the contractor had a bit of an argument and they are limiting him from now on. Then he turned to me and said, "There is a meeting on Friday, I want you there at 9 o'clock. I hesitate, I was not sure what it could have been. You know how your parents would ask, "Do you have something to tell me?" And as a kid you would go into panic and think about all the bad stuff you did at school. No? Just me? Okay, sure, I'll be there. I managed to say calmly through a scrambled mind, a few beers and stories about fishing trips, and I headed home. That was today, on 30th April 2019, and I was so excited to write this. I started as soon as I got home. The meeting is on Friday, and if you want me to, I will update after the meeting. Sorry it was so long, I guess I was excited and scared of what is about to happen. The way I see it, it can go one of two ways. Number one, I could be asked to take the contractor's place and have contractor work for me. Number two, they thought about what I had said about prices and they came to an agreement that they need to confront me and/or fire me. I will let you know when I do. Thanks for reading. Update: it happened. Oh my god. So I went to the meeting this morning and as I came in, everyone shook my hand. Some I've seen before and said my "Hi, how are yous" to, others I've never met in my life. This was an investor meeting. Some of these people are worth figures in the 9 digits. I was internally freaking out after finding out, but if you have read, you would know I know how to keep my cool. After our greetings, we sat down and waited. It was not clear who we were waiting on until an hour later, contractor walks in with his usual stained t-shirt and cargo shorts while I am in a nice dress shirt and tie. Figured I would look nice for this. Everyone made a face and greeted the contractor while we got settled again. Contractor did not seem to notice until we all sat back down. I saw him do a double take and give me a look that said, "What the F are you doing here?" And I had requested off today, so I could only imagine what he was thinking. After introducing the new investors to the old investors, owner got started saying about how we were going to have an amazing 2K19 and an amazing future for the company. I suppose he was just hyping up the new guys so they would invest more, and about 2 hours of production values and budget stuff blah blah blah, he then turned to me and said, "I would just like to take the time to congratulate OP for passing the general contractor's exam, and also his newly acquired business." I smiled and thanked him and then he continued, "As we are growing, we have a demand for new and inspiring people within our company. After hearing about OP's success in both our company and his, I would like to personally ask him a question in front of the whole team." My heart pounding in my throat as each word sounded slower than the last. I took a side glance at contractor that is visibly sweating at this point. "OP, would you like to be our new property manager? You may still have your business and do your own work, but we will pay you exclusively to be our personal contractor and help take care of all new and old properties." Everyone turns to me and I take a second to respond. Just then the contractor stands up and says, "What the hell? I'm your damn contractor." I've been your contractor for over a decade. You cannot just replace me for some dip crap that doesn't know what he's doing. Owner smugly looks at contractor and says, we are not replacing you. You will just answer to him now. All tasks, orders and billing will go through him now. If you'd like to still work for us, granted you mind your mouth and tone, you will run anything you do by OP. Contractor looks enraged and he turns to me. You are fired. You have no business here anymore. Now leave. Owner chuckles and says, you don't have that power anymore. As long as OP agrees to my question, I turn to him and say, are you sure you can afford me? I laugh and shake his hand. Yes, this is all I've ever wanted. All that I have worked for, and now we can get some real work done. I gotta admit something, I've been practicing that response since I was asked to come to this meeting. The contractor stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him, and I did not see him for the rest of the day. After that, he left, we continued to discuss the goals for this year, and it's out that they bought 60 new houses for me to work on with the investors' money, and he just looked at me and said, can you handle that? I happily said, yes sir. Trying to keep my eyes from watering, all I thought about was my family and how proud they would be of me. In a little under a year, I received a great license, my own business and pretty much non-stop work. If there's anything you guys reading can take from this, I hope it will be this: don't settle in life. Be hungry to better yourself and be the best person you can be. The only person stopping you is yourself. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I feel like these words are very much true. However, sometimes if you are in a good spot, you also have to be satisfied with what you got. I think you should never get greedy, because in the end, greed could be your demise. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.